Good morning, 7th grade. Welcome to session 4 of our EOG prep. Got a fresh packet today, so give this one your absolute best. Our EOG will be here before we know it, so let's give our energy to our work this morning and try to get through number 1 through 15. So our goal is to accomplish the calculator inactive section today in our new yellow packets. I want you to try one on your own or with teacher help if needed, but I do want to support you on number 2 and a little bit with 3. So go ahead and flip to that one to get us started this morning. So without our calculator, we've got to make sure that we can do some long division. So writing 5/16 as a decimal, we got to think about our T-bow trick. And if you're not familiar with T-bow is just a quick way to remember how to set up your division. So T-bow stands for top in, and whenever we say top, we're talking about the numerator. Bottom out, talking about the denominator. So 16 on the outside. Got to add a decimal and some zeros. We don't necessarily know how many we need, but we know that we're going to need to divide this out. So if you're not too good at division without your calculator, remember it's all about estimation. So 16 cannot go into 5, but it can go into 50. Can you think about how many times you think it might go in? Okay, if you were thinking 3, you're on the right track. So this is where you might need to do some scratch work over to the side to kind of do some guess and check maybe. So that would be 18, carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1, 4. So 48. See how that's the closest to 50. So 50 minus 48 has 2 left over still. Bring down our 0. And 16 goes into 20 one time. Let me bring up my decimal before I forget here. So 20 take away 16 would be 4. Bring down our 0. So 16 goes into 40. About that 2 times. Now you might start kind of looking over at your answer choices to help you out a little bit here too, right? So 16 times 2, 12, carry the 1, 2 times 1 plus 1 be 3, so 32. Okay, I'm running a little bit of room here on number 3, but I'll just kind of bring it up here. We know the last number, so that would be 8 left over and a 0, and 16 goes into 85 times perfectly, and I'll prove that to you over here. Right, so that would be a remainder of 0, a terminating decimal. So 0.3125. All right, I want to help you a little bit on number 3, not do the whole question for you, but at least remind you about something because we had one similar to this one in our first packet, if you recall. So remember, you've got to watch whenever you see those parentheses for distributive property that could be hiding from you. Now remember, there's an invisible 1 in front of this parentheses, and that, of course, will not change anything because timesing by 1 does not change the value. But watch this one. So this is minus, or in other words, we're distributing a negative 1. To go under here, I ran out of room. So I want you to make sure with this one before you start combining like terms that you look at this as a negative 1.7x and a negative or minus 3.6. Okay, and now go for your CLT. All right, go and pause the video here as you're ready, teachers, and we'll work for about 20 minutes. And I'll check in with you guys to help you on question number 15. All right, you might not be on question 15 yet, and that's okay. Number 15 is where we want to try to end up. So you might need to go back and work on some questions before this. But number 15 is kind of our end goal for today. So let's go and do this one together because there's a couple before this question that use the same strategy. Dan painted 3/4 of a wall using 2/3 of a can of paint. How many walls of this size can he paint using 1 can of paint? All right, whenever we're relating two things together, like how much wall we can paint, related to how many cans we need, I want your mind to automatically go to that WKU. And if you don't remember what that stood for, that's just a way to set up a proportion to make sure you relate things together. So I think WKU is a good one for this one. Remember, W stands for what words are being related, K, what we know, and U are unknown, what we don't know. So whenever you think of WKU, just think of how to set up the proportion. We're relating how much of the wall we can cover with how many cans of paint. Okay, we know that Dan can paint 3/4 of the wall using 2/3 of a can of paint. Okay, what we don't know is how much or how many walls, that's our X, we can cover with 1 can. So that 1 will have to be our denominator. Okay, all right, now we're going to do our cross multiplication here. And of course, no calculator yet, so we're going to have to do a little bit of fraction skills, but this one's not too bad. So we have 2/3 times X equals 3/4 times 1. And 3/4 times 1, of course, is 3/4. And now we need to do our inverse operation. All right, so we're going to divide by 2/3 on both sides. Okay, so we end up doing is 3/4 divided by 2/3. Some of you might have been thinking, well, I was going to do that anyways. The wall per can. Well, if you were already thinking to divide 3/4 divided by 2/3, that's great. WKU sometimes is not needed or necessary for some students, but I at least like to show it to you for those that might struggle with how to set it up or how to know what order to put it in. Because if we would have put 2/3 first, we would have gotten a different answer. All right, now what should you be thinking here? Hopefully, keep, change, flip, right? KCF for your steps. So keep the first fraction, change the sign, and flip around. Remember, that's also known as the reciprocal. Okay, go straight across. And that will be 9, 3 times 3, and 8. Okay, now this answer works perfectly. You don't have to do anything but just write it in, or whenever you're doing the EOG, of course, type it in. You could change it to a mixed number, which would be 1 1/8. And they do allow you to do mixed numbers now using a space. But sometimes sticking with improper is a better bet because you don't have to do or worry about the extra space in between the whole number and the fraction. All right, let's keep working. See if we can make it to number 15. So go back and work on any questions you skipped over before this.